videos that influence your approach? Classic question, good question from Deuce Blocker.
Not really, man. I mean, I read Super System. Did you read any books?
I read Super System, the Sklansky books and stuff a little bit.
I read Super System. I think I read Gus's book way later, but
great book, by the way.
It was.
Every Hand Revealed. Yeah, that's a good read right there.
But by the time I read those, I was already like playing the highest stakes and stuff. So it was only really Super System that maybe impacted a bit, and it impacted some. But I tell a lot of people this. I think the thing that helped me the most was finding friends as I was moving up in stakes that I thought were being honest with me. Because a lot of people in poker, maybe, especially if you're playing someone all the time, there's not, incentives aren't aligned.
For sure. I feel like that's really evolved too now, where when you play with someone, talk about a hand, it's more of an open communication. Back in the day, it was like, is this like a leveling war? Are they fucking with me? Or like, it's weird.
Well, and it's neat. Obviously, we know each other a long time, but even if it was early on, if I play 95% of my poker without you, you play 95% without me, it's a lot easier to be like, oh, what did I do this hand, right?
Yeah.
If you're playing 100% with the same people, of course incentives aren't really aligned. It's like you need even more trust.
For sure. How much of the stuff that you do would you say is like some form of concrete analysis where you're doing some kind of a personal equation without getting into it, and how much of it is just you allow things to kind of speak to you?
So I've played games where I feel very like dialed in, calculating. Usually those are games if I'm playing more pros. And I've played games where I'm just guessing the whole time, getting a bunch of shit wrong and hopefully getting a little more right. And that's usually if it's a more recreational game. I don't know, yeah, that's kind of the answer. I think it's kind of cool to not be too dialed in and sometimes do goofy shit,
Don't be too rigid maybe, right?
Yeah. And a lot of the recreational dudes don't really mind if they, over the course of many sessions, maybe they lose a little bit, but they got you a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're just playing your same static strategy, people don't like that. They're like, man, I got a job. I don't want to go study.
This is a toughie from unauthorized material. If you weren't a poker player, what would you be doing? What would you be doing? When you start? When you were 17, 18, you were like off to the races poker, kind of?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've thought about this.
There's a lot of like science stuff that interests me.
Yeah.
I was in engineering.
In college?
In Boston University.
Did you finish?
No, I made it a year and then they kicked me out.
Okay. You gotta do the work and stuff.
Yeah, I went to the classes that interested me.
But you were like science inclined, kind of?
Yeah, the science ones I showed up to, and then the other ones I didn't, and they didn't like that. But yeah, probably something there. But I don't know. I always would try to find my own way to not need to deal with bullshit unless I saw the reason why, kind of thing.
We can all believe that.
I got lucky to to be able to find some ways to.
Any crazy Ivy stories that are obscure? Puck Folk or Go wants to know. Obscure Ivy stories. I have one, but that's a no-go.
Oh man, I feel like I have so many, but I need to think for a few minutes.
Hang on a second. Yeah, he has them, but
we circle back to that one.
Okay, let's circle back. The high stakes poker pot against Barry Greenstein, where you only ran it once. You remember that pot, right? Where you wouldn't pull any money back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Recollections of that pot, and also, do you normally take the variance and just run it once? The fly would like to know.
I'm fine running it a few times, but I think I thought I just did the math wrong. I thought I was like few percent edge, and I was, of course, if I knew I was
always something crazy going on.
If I knew I was a dog, I would have said, yeah, you can pull some money back, man, no problem.
He was hunting for the percent, the fly. It's not always what it seems like.
I thought I was making my little 2% or whatever.
I kind of hate this question, but I'm just going to ask, where do you see yourself in 10 years? 2-for-1 Jameson wants to know. Not that it's a bad question, 2-for-1 Jameson, but I'm always uncomfortable with that because it's like, who the fuck knows? But I
always ask people this, actually.
Really?
Like, what are you going to be up to?
Really? Yeah. Interesting. I'm more of like a just today kind of guy. Do you think about this? You see yourself still playing just for starters?
Yeah, but I guess I want more and more of my work time to not be just poker. I want to still play some, but less and less.
Any passion projects you think about?
Still want to get into science someday.
That's cool.
But I think I got some stuff in between.
That's cool.
And I don't think I'd be working a day job in science.
Who are your current top 3 cash game no limit players? Poker Mike AK wants to know.
I've barely played No Limit for the last 9 months or something.
So what about in your life, top 3 toughest?
I mean, I think that depends, because it depends when. Someone who's super tough, if they don't do any work for a few years,
It's true.
they're not that tough.
That's true.
So I've had so many people that were real tough.
Well, it could be topical for the era, or maybe topical is the wrong word, but it can be, at the time, evolution aside, just whose peak gave you the most problems kind of type thing.
I mean, back in the day, I always used to say Ivy. I don't think he's working much on his No Limit game lately, so he wouldn't be in there. Timofey, I think, is sharp at a bunch of the games now.
He's an animal, man.
Yeah, but it depends which game, right? Like Ivy's focus lately, I think, is more short deck.
Yeah.
My focus lately is definitely more short deck.
Which is understandable, I mean.
And now there's a lot more resources, so people are learning faster. There's
Yeah.
all this, Phil Galfond went and decided to teach everyone poker.
He did,
And
didn't he? Yes, he did.